This has a dot. Ta, za is what we're going to do today. We have kaf, lam, mim, noon, ha, wow, and ya. All right, so many people fit in the next letter here that we're going to talk about now. All right, so I just take back this one. We are not ready for it, for this one, for these two. So we want to talk about this letter that is called Hamza. All right, so it looks like, like the vowel, that slant there, and it has this little part like this. Okay, so that's Hamza. If you compare the Hamza, this letter, with the other letters of the alphabet, you would notice it is small, very small letter. But there are some similarities in terms of the functioning of this letter Hamza, that is called Hamza. Okay, and that can be seen when we look at the vowels. So if we have alif with a fatha, it gives me this sound a, because we said that the alif does not have any sound of her own. So it's actually the vowel that we are actually seeing. Okay? And then if you take the Hamza and you put the same vowel, you get the same output, which is also a. So alif fatha is a, and Hamza fatha is the same output a. And likewise, if you were to read the Hamza with the other vowels, it will be the same thing like the alif. All right, so you have alif kasra e, Hamza kasra will be the same thing e. Okay, and if you have the dhamma, it's going to be the same. Okay, so it's very simple so far. Okay, and for the remaining is also simple. All right, so don't get too worried. What is unique about the Hamza is, I guess because it's small, it takes advantage of being small, and sometimes it jumps on other letters. All right, and you could see that only on 3 letters. All right, and these are the same 3 letters that are called the weak letters, and they are the vowels that function like long vowels. So basically, they are the alif and wow and the ya. All right, like this. So sometimes you would see the Hamza like that, and above this, and sometimes at the tail of the ya. All right, but it doesn't carry the dot. So the Hamza comes in different forms, like you'd say. Same shape, but the appearance is different. But don't let it confuse you. All right, it is still Hamza. So whether it stands or she stands by herself, or she goes on top of another letter, all right, it is still considered to be a Hamza. So in your handout, I said it dominates the letter really. So this letter here is no longer considered to be a wow. All right, it's considered to be a Hamza. So you're going to pronounce this just as how you pronounce the Hamza with a vowel, whatever vowel it carries. Okay, so basically that is what you have to remember. So if you look at the different ways the Hamza comes about in various words, you could either see the Hamza standing all by herself, like this. That's one way. Another time you might see it on a little chair there. This shape, just like the ba, ta, tha, noon, and ya. That same shape, but it floats on top. Okay, so it's still a Hamza. And it will be like this if it is within a word. Okay? It would look like this, where it's like in the middle of a word. So there is a letter before it. All right? There will be a connection line here. All right? And you will see the Hamza like that. And you have examples in your handout of words looking, with the Hamza looking like that. So this is one of the cheers of the Hamza, whether it is by herself or she is like this. And then you have, if I put it like this, it will be the same thing. All right? The two of them, they are the same. This one and this, they are the same. This one is just showing that there is a letter before. And then you have these three others right here. Okay? So you have examples in your handout of words that occurred in the Quran where you see the Hamza looking like this. For example, in Surah An-Nasr, إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ. All right? So in that surah, إِذَا, and then you have جَاء, and then you have a Hamza here. جاء نصر الله والفتح. All right? So إذا جاء. And you will see something like a wave here in the Quran. Right? Looks like a wave. All right? This is an indication when you're applying the rules of recitation of the Quran that you have to stretch it in the longer tone. All right? It has two types of them. One of them would look like thin, and the next one looks deep. So each one, gives us an indication of what we have to do. When you're reading the Quran, you would notice these signs, these waves. All right? So this one tells you you don't have to stretch it so long. But this one will tell you we have to stretch it longer, like 4 to 6 beats. A beat is measured by if you make a fist like this and you release one finger at a time. How long it takes, the duration of time it takes to release one finger at a time. All right, that's how it's measured. So 6 counts before you go to the next letter. So you say, إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ. Right, 6 counts, like that. But we are not doing rules of tajweed. All right, and have rules the rules explain to you why you have to go so long. If there's after a long vowel, there's a Hamza, that's one of the reasons. Anyways, coming back to, so you have the word ja'a in the Quran, and you have the Hamza standing by herself. All right? It's a common word in the Quran is the word ma, and also the Hamza like that. وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً. All right? We have sent down from the sky water. All right? So you have ma and then Hamza here. Okay? So then there will be a mad here again. Right? And you have the word sama also, which means sky. Okay? With the Hamza like that. Okay? So the Hamza by herself. And then you will have other words where the Hamza will be like this on a chair. All right? All right, like this. So you have a letter before, and then the next letter, right? Like that. And you have other examples of words where the Hamza, either in the beginning of the word, or in the middle of the word, or in the ending of the word. All right? Looking like these. In your handout, you have examples, and it is your job to be reading this, the notes that you have been given. All right? You have to practice. All right? Remember, practice makes perfect. And I'm just giving you the tools, preparing you to be able to read. But you have to also practice on a daily basis. All right? You have to be reading a lot. All right? So I think we are through with the different ways how the Hamza appears. And we can move on. Still on the Hamza. If you have This is considered to be like a Hamza, all right, because it dominates the letter, right? But if you want to elongate this by adding the alif, just like how we did for the meme, says it's meme fatha ma, short, right? But if you want, so this is ma, but if we want ma, we take this, right? And then we add the alif, right? So we get ma, right? Ma. So now, supposing we have a word beginning with the alif, and we want to elongate the alif. You want to get instead of just Instead of just we want So the Arabs, what they did, they write it one time, and they put that same wave there. So when you see the alif with that wave on top, you go longer, all right? Like the word amana. Amana ar-rasulu bima unzila ilayh. All right? Like that. So you have to know that also. And one other thing before we close off on the Hamza is that if the Hamza has a sukoon, so it's absent, all right? Like the sukoon here. So that means the Hamza has no vowel. All right? And we have to join these two. Now remember, this alif here is no longer lengthening a fatha sound. So it's not ma, okay? Because it has a Hamza, so it's really a Hamza. So how am I going to pronounce this part of this word? It goes like ma, ma. All right? Like you jerk it, ma, ma. Like you have a hiccup, ma. And then wa. This is alif. You remember you have two types of alif. And I told you the one that shapes like the ya without the dot, it comes only at the end of a word. All right? So we have the word, for example, like this. You have alif fatha joined to a lam, gives you the sound al. And then mim with the fatha joined to the hamza gives you the sound ma. Al ma wa. Al ma'wa. Al ma'wa means your abode, the abode. All right? The residence. فَأَمَّا مَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَى فَإِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَى. All right? In Surah An-Nazi'at. Coming to the end. So, you have many words with the Hamza, where the Hamza has a sukoon. Take, for example, the word like this, a wow, but a Hamza above it. Okay? So we'll have the word. It is, even though you're seeing a Dhamma here and a wow, the wow is not lengthening a Dhamma because there is a Hamza above it. So you have to jerk it. It's treated like a Hamza. It's no longer a wow. It's not a wow, it's a Hamza. So you pronounce it mu, 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 mi, n, mu'minun. Mu'minun. All right? And you could change mu'minun to mu'minun. All right? Mu'minun. And so on. Believers. All right? You have a surah by that name, right? Surah 23. Surah 23. Okay? So, nice. You had to write a little bit bigger so that people could see. Inshallah. Okay, so that's about all that we need to know about the Hamza. Now we are looking at the remaining 7 letters. Okay? So after the letter Sod and Dod, and of course you remember the table which I told you, you have to always remember this table. With the Aleph on top and the Waw at the bottom, the Dal and the Zal, and the Ra and the Za. these letters, they do not join, all right, to any letter coming afterwards. When you're reading the Quran, okay, if you're reading the Quran, whenever you see any one of these letters in a word, you will notice that a letter coming, any letter coming after any one of these 6 letters will not be attached. All right? That is the reason why the letters were not attached. You have to remember those 6 letters. All right? Okay. We call them the mean or selfish letters. So, Sod, Dod. Remember we said Dod is a unique letter. It cannot, you can't find that sound in any other language. All right? Dod. And the Arabic language is referred to Lughatul Dod, the language of Dod. Dod. We said how you pronounce it. Take the side of your tongue touching your upper molar teeth. All right. The next letter, the head of it looks just like the head of the Sod. Okay? But it goes beyond a little bit. And then it's like an aleph on top of it. And it's called Ta. Ta. And remember we said that letters were coming in pairs, and this is to complete the pair. And the second one has the dot. So it's Ta and Tha. Ta and Tha, they are perhaps the easiest letter or letters to get along with. You see, so far what we have seen with all of these letters, they undergo some kind of changes when in the middle of a beginning of a word or in the middle of a word or the end of a word, it has some changes occurring. But with the exception of these 2 letters there, right, they don't change at all. If you look at your notes, I said, they are like some people. All right? They don't change. All right? They don't change. Ta and Tha. All right? So they're easy to get along with. And that shape, you could recognize it, whether the word begins with it, or in the middle of a word, or at the end of a word. It's the same shape all the time. The next letter it looks like this. Notice which part goes below the line. You notice this part here is just like the Jim, Ha, Kha. All right? It's called Ain. Ain. And it's from your throat. It's a glottal sound. Ain. Ain. Everybody say Ain. Ain. Say it again. Ain. It's important that you pronounce the word properly. All right? Because you're reading a word from the Quran. As I'm talking about that, I think I forgot to mention in your handout when we were comparing the letters. So we'll talk about, comparison of letters. All right? So in case I forget, somebody remind me. So Ain and Ghain. Ain and Ghain. Ain and Ghain. So in case you forget the name of this one hopefully would remind you. Ain and Ghain. All right, so all the pairs, one remind you of the other one. Okay? Sometimes you see a person and say, oh, you are so-and-so's husband, or your wife is so-and-so. Like comparison, like husband and wife. It's pairs. It's easy to remember. All right, so Ain, Ghain. And then we have 2 more to go. This one is called Fa, and this one is called Qaf. Fa has 1 dot, and it stays on top of the line, just like the Ba, Ta, Tha, on top of the line, whereas the Qaf looks pretty much like a Noon. It has a head, just like the Waw. It has 2 dots, all right? So they're differentiated with the dots, okay? So for these 2 letters, if you want to look at the shape, the different shape of the letter, in the beginning of a word, it's like this, okay? And in the middle of a word, it looks like this, okay? So this part comes like that. Let me write it again like this. Goes up and comes back, all right? So it's Ain, Ain. And if it is in the end of a word, it looks like this, So it comes back in its original form, this part. It's only this part changes. All right? It has to do with writing. It's faster. All right? It's faster when you write it like this. All right? So, for example, let me show you why it is faster. All right? If I'm writing the word, if I have to join a sin and a meme, plus a ya, and plus an ain, okay? So we write the sin like this. Look, notice my pen is not going to raise up until I reach to the ain. Okay, so let's start like this, and I go to the meme, and I go to the ya, and then I go to the ain. See? Now I'm going to raise up to put my dot. But if we had to maintain this shape, all right, when we reach to this part here, we'd have no other choice but to lift up the pen and go down back again. So let's look at that. Like this. All right, the meme, the ya. Now, how am I going to get that shape there? The only way I get it, I have to lift up and come like this. All right? So because of this speed writing, that's why it's written like this. All right? Everything is about the speed. And if the ain was in the middle, like for example, sin and ain, like that, and a lam, right? If you want to change that to a sheen, and a shugul means work, okay? But if we had to maintain this shape here, we have no other choice but to lift up the pen to get that ain like this, all right, and then, or the line. You understand? So it makes sense to have it like this. It's a matter of speed, basically. All right, so now you have, you have seen the shape of the ain and the ghain and the fa and the qaf. In the beginning of a word, it's like this. All right? If the fa is in the middle of a word, again, because of speed, in the middle, this is my attachment line, and there is a loop, and we go like that, okay, with a dot. And if it's in the end of a word, my attachment line, and I come like this, and I complete. All right? And the same thing goes for the qaf. Same, qaf, 2 dots, in the middle of a word. All right? The end of a word, I go back to my original shape. All right? So that's how it is. So if you see any one of the shapes here, you will know it is fa or qaf, depending on which. Both of them have the same kind of head, same head with that little loop inside. But this one has 1 dot, fa, qaf has 2 dots. Same loop, okay? 1 dot, 2 dots. All right, and the qaf. So it's easy. It's nothing difficult about that. And you have examples of words in your handout showing you how the letters are written. All right? So we could stick in the Hamza here. All right? If you want. So we have completed the letters of the alphabet, and you also have examples of words with all of the letters of the alphabet, whether the letter is in the middle or in the beginning or the end of the word. You have all of those letters, inshallah ta'ala. All right? So we still have something very important that we have to look at. All right? And that is, you have the alif again, but when it goes with a lam. All right? This is referred to in English grammar the definite article. All right? Basically, could be translated as the. All right? So like if, for example, if you have the word a book, which is kitabun, a book, and you want the book, right? You have a alif lam first, and then the word kitab. Okay? And this, it loses this tanween. So why we need to know this rule is because if you have a word under every single page of the Quran, you have many words beginning with alif lam. All right? Every single page of the Quran, you have words beginning with alif and lam. Hence the reason you have to know about the rule of this alif and lam. So basically, the first thing you need to know is that if there is a word before here, this alif is not pronounced. Okay? If there is a word before, the alif is not pronounced. So you have to remember that rule. As long as there is a word before, don't pronounce that alif. That is the alif with the lam. Okay? This lam, the next rule that you need to know, the lam of the definite article. Sometimes you could pronounce it, and other times you don't pronounce it. Okay? So you want to know when you should pronounce it and when you should not pronounce it. All right? So now, because we are not doing Arabic grammar and so on, and to read words without vowels, all right? It's very easy because it's already there in, let's say you're reading the Quran. So everything has already been fixed. But for people who are reading Arabic without vowels, they would need to know the rules. All right? So what you would actually notice when you have words beginning with alif and lam, all right? The first thing, as long as there is a word before here, you will see like a sign like this above the letter. So I'm going to enlarge this because some of you at the back can't see. So it's like something looking like this and like that above the alif. That is telling you, the reader, ignore this alif, do not pronounce it. All right? And after the alif, we look at the lam now. The lam will have a sukoon. But sometimes we say the lam may not be pronounced. Silent. Okay? So when would the lam be silent? You would notice the letter that comes after the lam, you have to look out for certain letters. And then you would notice there is no sukoon on the lam. But you will actually see a shadda on the next letter that comes after the lam. All right? So let us look at that, what I had just mentioned, in this right here. All right? So we have a word beginning with alif and lam. All right? And then we notice there is a shadda. All right? So this is actually telling me, first thing you have, that the alif is not pronounced. Why? Because there is a word before. So you're not pronouncing this alif. You're just moving on. Then we come to the lam. We're looking at the lam now. All right? Should I pronounce this lam or not? Look at the next letter. It has a shadda. Okay? So that means the lam is silent. So then when I'm reading this, I have to take this letter here and join it straight to the ra. All right? Remember what we said before. Whenever you see a shadda, it means that the letter is doubled. All right? So if we were to break up this word here, all right, we will have something looking like this. All right? And then we'll have a ra again. And then the ha. And the completion of the word. All right? So the first of the two, remember the rule with the shadda, the first one of the two letters has a sukoon. All right? And the second one has whatever vowel is there. All right? So this is why you have the shadda there. The lam is not pronounced. Why? Because the ra is a sun letter. So what we really need to know is what are the sun letters. And as long as we know what are the sun letters, then we will know if to pronounce or not to pronounce. All right? Well, as I said, sometimes when I'm teaching, I sometimes forget the students who I'm speaking to. All right? Because I teach Arabic grammar most of the time. All right? But this course is a reading course. So basically, sometimes I might switch, and that's my fault. All right? So basically, what I want to say is that if you see a word with a shadda, all right, you go straight to that word. And we were saying that if a letter has a sukoon, all right, in that word what I was writing just now, all right, the letter is seeking help. All right? The letter is seeking help to move, to go to the next. So remember, the alif has no vowel, right? Because there is a word before. So she can't help. The alif can't help. The ra is looking for help. The lam can't help because the lam is silent, because it's sun letter. So the ra has to go further, beyond. The lam can't help, the alif can't help. The ra going quite down to this ha for help, because she has a vowel. Only she could help. So the ha is going to join straight to the ra. That's how you get here. So you have Bismillah, here. And then the ra joined to the ha, because the ra has a vowel. The second ra has a vowel. So she could help the ha. So we have rah. And this meme is lengthened. We have a small alif there. So it's ma. Right? Because this now is what everybody has already memorized. So we have to look at something that is more challenging. All right? I have written part of an ayah in your handout. And this ayah basically has a number of words and rules. Well, actually rules that we have covered. I'm going to write the remaining here just now. So we have, could you kindly call out the letters for me? Ra, Ba, Noon, Alif, Qaf. We just did the Qaf. Mm-hmm. This is Alif or Lam? Mm-hmm. Hamza, Noon, Kaf. What word do we have here? We have to join the ra to the ba, so we get Rab. And we have to call the ba again, Ba. So we have Rab, Ba. And the Noon is elongated with the Alif. So the word is what? Rabbana, Rabbana. Okay? Now we have pronounce this part of the word. Ta, fatha gives you what sound? Ta. Qaf, fatha. We have to look at the next letter if the next letter needs help to know if to join together. All right, the ba has a shadda. So does she need help? So we have to pronounce the qaf together with the ba, with the vowel here. So we have qaf, fatha is qa, but joined to the ba gives you what sound? Qab. And the ba says, the shadda tells me to call the letter again. But before I pronounce it, I have to look beyond to see if there is a next letter that needs help. So look at the lam. Does she need help? Yes. So instead of just sounding off the ba with the fatha by saying ba, we have to sound it off together with the lam. So we have what? Bal. So let's go back to this word. So we have ta, qab, and then bal. So come back here. What do we have? Rabbana, 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 taqabbal. All right, look at this. Minna, minna. What do we have? Innaka. What do we have? Anta. All right. Okay, so we have a word here beginning with alif and lam. So that means this alif silent, not pronounced. We see a lam, so we have to look here, right? The lam is also silent. Hence the reason we have a shadda here. Okay, so that means we have two scenes here. The first one has a sukoon. So for us to song off that, we have to look for a letter before, coming before, that has a vowel for it to go together with it. So the lam and the alif, none of them have, so we have to go straight to the ta. So that means the ta is going to join straight to the sin. So ta fatha gives you ta, but join to a sin gives you what sound? Tas. Tas. And I have to call the sin a second time because it has a fatha here, right? It has a vowel. So tas, and then we have sa. We have mim kasra, and there is a ya coming after. So that means the kasra sound is lengthened. So we have mi, sa, mi, u. All right. Notice the ain has to go straight to the lam. The aleph is not pronounced. Why? Why the aleph is not pronounced? Because there's a word before. Okay? And the lam has a sukoon because this is a moon letter, not a sun. So the ain with the dhamma gives you u, but join to the lam gives you what? Ul, ul. Ul. And this is a ain again. Ah. Ain fatha, ah. And lam kesra, li. But there is a ya coming after, which means it has to be lengthened. So we, li, and mim dhamma, mu. Ah, li, mu. All right, so, Rabbana, say it. Taqabbal minna. Innaka antas sami'ul alim. Now one of the mistakes a lot of people make is when they jump into a word from one word to another and you pause in the second word. That is not good. All right? So you have to look at the whole word before you go into it. All right? Or else you will end up saying, like for example, if you want to say Munaf Muhammad, right? Let's say you want to say Munaf Muhammad. Say Munaf Muhammad. Right? Mu and then Hamid. Can't work. You have to pronounce the whole word. Right? So you don't stop halfway in a word. Say the whole word. Okay? So for you to say the whole word, you'll have to say it slowly in your mind first. All right? If you go tas, well, but if you're going to recite it, you have to go the whole thing together. All right? And Arabic is something that you don't pause between the words and them. You read the whole thing. Right? The whole thing until you reach to the end. That's how it is. All right? So basically, that is what could inform you now that you have covered all of the letters of the alphabet and you have looked at many of the rules. I erased the ayah. But if you look at the ayah in your handout, look at the ayah. Notice that you have short vowel and you have long vowel. Can you see it? Can you see it? Let me write it back quickly. All right. All right. So we have short vowel. We have shadda. All right. We have long vowels. So we're talking about short vowels and long vowels. We have long vowels here. All right. Look, we have a long vowel here again. Na, mi. We have li. So we have short vowels. We have long. Look at short vowel here. Mu. We have a short vowel. Ka. Okay. Ta. But that is joining there. We have sukoon. And we have many shaddas. We have many shaddas. We have the rule that we did tonight. Words beginning with alif and lam. One of them we have a sun letter, and the next one we have a moon letter. All right? Sun letter, we have the one with the shadda, where the lam is silent, and this one, the lam is pronounced. All right? So we have a lot of the rules here in this ayah. Okay? I was really forgot to tell you yesterday to walk with your Quran because I wanted you to open the Quran in any part of the Quran, any page of the Quran, and attempt to read that page. All right? So I don't know what we could do. We could pause, or we could get somebody to bring some of the Quran, someone inside. Two of you could go and bring some Quran and just pass it around, and then we'll look at any page. You choose a page, and then we will see whether we have learned some of the things about reading Arabic. All right? And remember, the course is not, as I have mentioned before, this is, a preliminary course. And it's the first thing that anyone who wants to read Quran, all right? This is the first step in Arabic reading. But if you want to recite with the proper intonation, then they have other rules that is called like the rules of tajweed. And the rules of tajweed will explain to you how to elongate, how to shorten, how to echo, how to assimilate, how to distort, how to suppress. And all of these are different rules of recitation, and it will tell you also when you should do that, when you should not do it. All right? So each one of you have a Quran, and those of you who are looking on YouTube, you can also open your Quran. Okay? And let's choose a page. One of you choose a page. Or just open the Quran in the middle like that. Middle. Not the end of the surah that you're accustomed to. And let everybody know what page it is. So everybody will be in the same. Give me one. Let me see which page you're looking at. Because I think people may have a problem with. Some of you may have a problem to know what page it is. All right? So remember I told you just now that when the alif is not pronounced, all right, there is a little sign like that above it. Okay? When the alif is not pronounced, there is a little sign like that above the alif. All right? So that is the alif for the definite article. But sometimes you may have an alif that doesn't go with the lam, it's by herself. All right? Like this. And then you will still have that. All right? So this alif is really a letter that is added to a verb, for example, which is called Hamzatul Wasl. All right? When the verb is in the imperative form, for example. Like when the verb is in the imperative form. So basically, if you see the sign, you don't have to know the rule about why the alif is there. All right? So you may have an alif. Let me say this again. Some of you are not paying attention. Sometimes you may have an alif, which is different from the alif and lam. Alif by herself. But as long as you see the sign above it, okay? You see the sign above it, you just ignore the alif. So then you will, for example, you have a fatha here. So the waw goes straight to join with that. So you say was jud. Was jud. Which page did you find? Or you want me to choose a page? Huh? Okay, yeah, maybe we could look at the surah. All right? Yes, that's true. So let's look at Surah 10. Let's look at Surah 10. That's Surah Yunus. Okay. I know we have a lot of problems. We have some people don't know the name, the surahs by their names. If I tell you the page, also you have a problem because you don't know how to find the Arabic page. But the thing is, I wanted to take you somewhere in the middle of the Quran because most of you, I think, all right, you might know the first page or two. All right, this is what we're going to do. Open the Quran, the first page, where you have Surah Al-Fatiha. Remember, it's from right to left. I told you from the first session. All right, you open the Quran from the right side. All right, you see the first page is Surah Al-Fatiha and then Surah Al-Baqarah. All right, let's count 10 leaves, not pages, leaves. So count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right? Now, some of you who are accustomed to read one para or one juz a day, I know a lot of people, they call it the second para, sayaqul. So you might know that word also. So let's go to the page before it, right there, on the same side. The thinner part of the Quran, not the thick part. All right, the thinner part, on this side. All right, that's page 21. Page 21. 21 looks like this. Okay, so let's see if you have found the page. What is the first letter you're seeing on that page? A wow. You have found it? All right, okay, everybody has the right page now. You all have the right page. Okay, after the wow, what letter do you have? Qaf. That's the letter we did tonight. Qaf. And after the qaf is what letter? Alif. Notice the alif was not attached to the next letter. because Aleph is one of the selfish letters we said, right? Doesn't allow attachment. So we have Waw, Qaf, Aleph. Can you pronounce that part? Wa, Qaw, Wa, Qaw. And then we have the Lam with a Waw. Lu. But notice there is an Aleph after the Waw. All right? That Aleph, you notice there's a sign above it. It's not pronounced. Okay? It's not pronounced. That's another rule again with regards to the Aleph. Remember I told you the Aleph has many functions. All right? So basically when the verb is in the perfect tense, plural, masculine form, it carries a Aleph comes after it. All right? So basically the Aleph is not pronounced. But you have a sign there already informing you that the Aleph is not pronounced. So that first word is what? Waqalu. Waqalu. And they said. All right, what's the next letter after that? So you have noticed we have learned the calf looking like this. All right? But sometimes the calf could look like this. All right? Like this. Goes a little bit further and then come back. All right? So that's what you have there. And after the calf, you have the letter Wow. So that part of the word is pronounced how? Ku. Ku. And then the next part, you have Noon and Wow. What sound do you get? Nu. So Ku, Nu. Two long vowels, the same long vowel. Ku, Nu. And then we have an Aleph after it. Ignore that Aleph. All right? That Aleph is only there because of a grammar rule. All right? So ignore it. So let's go back from the beginning of the ayah. What do we have? Wa, qalu, ku, nu. Ku, nu. All right. The next word. What is the first letter? Ha. Which one of the ha? The lower part of your throat. Ha. And after the ha is? Wow. How do we pronounce that part? Hu. Hu. And then we have the letter what? What letter is that? Dal. Notice how the next letter didn't join to the dal, right? Because dal is one of those letters that doesn't allow attachment, right? So these are ways of identifying letters also. And you have an Aleph. So the word is what? Who what? Dan. Tanwin Fatha. Who dan. Remember I told you that when it has Tanwin Fatha, there is an extra Aleph. Right? So that's what you're seeing there, the extra Aleph. Okay. The next word, we have an Aleph with a Hamza on top of it. So the Hamza dominates it. So we have a Waw after it. How do we pronounce that part? Aw. Aw. Identify the next letter. Noon. And the next letter? Sword. Notice by the sword you have a tiny Aleph. So that means the sword will have to be lengthened. Saw. And then after the saw is what? Ra. And notice after the ra, there is a Aleph. All right? The Aleph, that is the one that shapes like a ya without the dots. So that means we pronounce the ra long, right? We say ra. So that whole word is what? Nasara. Nasara. Nasara means Christians. All right? Okay. Identify the next word. Let's identify the letters. What do we have? Ta. And after the ta, aha. Ha. All right? So it's the same ha. Look on the board. Look on the board. So we have the word hudan. That's like the ha there. And this is also ha when it is in the middle of a word. All right? You have a letter before, which is the ta, and then ha. It's the same ha, but the ha now is in the middle of a word. So how are we going to pronounce that part of the word? We have a ta with a fatha, and joined together with the ha. What sound do you get? Ta, ta. And after that, what letter do we have? We have another ta. So we have ta, ta. And then dal, dhamma. And there is a waw coming after. So it's going to be long. How are we going to pronounce it? Do. So the whole word is what now? Ta, tadu, ta, tadu. All right? Ta, tadu. And the alif coming afterwards is ignored. So basically, I mean, I just wanted to take you to any part of the Quran and see if you would have been able to identify letters and able to read something. All right? There might be one or two minor things that we may have, left out and so on. All right, any questions that you have for me? Do we have any questions? Yes, a question here. The alif.
Right, the alif that you have on top, that it doesn't pronounce, right?
Yes.
The little sign on top of it, does that have a name?
The name?
Yeah, that'll do.
It's
Or is it just...
no, it is a letter really. It comes from this word here. Wow, Sod, and Lam. All right? Wasl. Wasl means join. So what they have done, they have taken this letter here, which is the Sod, and from wasala, wasala means, wasala is the verb. And then the command of it, imperative form is sil, join, right? Connect. And then they abbreviated that command by taking the head of it, which is this. Yes. All right, so it makes sense. Yes, any other question? So even when you start learning the rules of tajweed and so on, you will see some subtle differences. Like sometimes you will have a tanween fatha looking like this, and then you may have a tanween fatha looking like this. Can you see any difference in that? Huh? This one is exactly over, and this one is a little bit further up. So this is one rule, this is another rule. Sometimes the tanween dhamma is written like this, two like this, and sometimes it could be written like this. All right? Or sometimes it goes like this. So you have different ways of writing the same vowel and so on, but subtle differences. When you start learning the rules of tajweed and so on, then you will see all of those things. Any other questions? Yeah? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, we're not doing those. We're not doing those. Those are rules of tajweed. You have a tiny jim. Yes, so she's talking on the other page. If you're still on the page of the Quran, sometimes above, all right, above a word or coming down to this, you might have a little letter here. For example, a jim. All right? Jim is an abbreviation of the word jaiz. And jaiz means permitted, which means you are permitted to take a pause here. All right? Jaiz. Basically, that is what it is. So you have, sometimes you may have a jim, you may have a ta, you may have, so each letter has, it's like a jargon meaning something. All right? When you start doing the rules of tajweed, inshallah, then we could learn more about that. Any other question? Okay, so let me ask you all questions then. Yeah. Do you think that you have been able to achieve in the 4 days what you were looking for in terms of reading? For those of you who did not know to read at all, single, not like nothing before, you think it was helpful? Helpful a lot? Yes? Okay, I'm glad to hear that. So what what you will have to do now is to do a lot of practice on your own. All right? Now, in an encouragement for people to read the Quran, all right, our Prophet ﷺ told us that if we read the Quran, you get 10 blessings for every letter. And the one who finds difficulty in reciting the Quran, he gets double reward. Think about that. What more kind of encouragement would you want? So, because the person who reading normal, at a normal pace, are familiar with the ayat and so on, he will get for every letter 10 blessings. But the one who is more difficult for him or her, he gets double the blessing, 10 for each letter for reading it, and the next 10 for the attempts, the many attempts, all right, the person is making to pronounce the word, right, because of the difficulty the person has to undergo, all right? So now, if you want to become fluent in a particular, verse or surah, you will have to try to recite as much and as often as you can. But not on your own. Not on your own. Because you're a beginner, most likely you will make mistakes. All right? So you have to listen to a good reciter, and there are many reciters you can get on YouTube. So you could open whichever surah you want, and now listen to the reciter and follow. All right? Play it over and over and over until you will see it for your own. All right? And then, after you think you can recite it on your own, you need for someone now to listen to you. All right? To listen to your recitation. Because the likelihood of you not pronouncing it properly is great. You may think that you have learned it and you know it, but it is only after someone, you recite for someone who knows it, then the person will point out to you your mistakes. Which reminds me of what I was supposed to. How much time do we have again? There are certain letters of the alphabet that people need to be careful of how they pronounce. All right, so you see this ha, all right? The ha and this one, you have to know the difference between the two. So when you're coming to alhamdu, this ha, which is this one here, alhamdu, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. All right? So you have, if you pronounce this wrong, you might end up like this, alhamdu, alhamdulillah. So that will be wrong. All right? And then you have the word it have an ayn here. All right? Ayn. So we have to know the difference between an alif, all right, or a hamza, and the ayn. All right? And if you read each letter with a vowel, it will help you to distinguish between the two. All right? This is a, and this one is a, and a. So, for example, if you have, this is al-alameen. It doesn't have the elongation, the alif separate. They have a little alif here like this. All right? Remember the ayah we just now recited. Let me show you what could happen. This is one of the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-alim. 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 Alim means the one whose knowledge is comprehensive. The all-knowing. He knows everything. If you don't pronounce this ayn properly, you will end up saying al-alim. All right? So what's the meaning of al-alim here? The what? The all-knowing. And do you know what is this one? Alim, the painful punishment. Right? Alim, because of this. So when you're reading the Quran, you have to be distinct. So we have confusion sometimes between Alif, and it goes with many, even with Surah Al-Fatiha. All right? Some people might say, Ihdina sirata, ta. But it's not ta, it's ta. Ta. So you have to differentiate between ta. People have confusion between ta and ta. So in your margin on your notes, you need to make special notes of these letters that I'm going to write here very quickly. You didn't tell me how much time you have. You crossed the time already? Oh. All right. So we have ha, ha, ain. We have the letter val. All right. Let's go for dal first. Dal. And dod. A lot of people confuse these two. Right? Wala dalin. Some people say wala dalin. No, it's not da. It's not dal. It's a ba. Right? Da. So you have to notice the difference between some people with the sin and the sword. Sin. Right? So we say si. And you have this. For example, in the word sin kesra is what sound? Si. But sword kesra is what? Si. It's like a whistling sound. Si. Right? So si, flat. And si. So this sirat. Sirat. To. All right? Not siratal. Siratal. No? So si. So you have to pay attention. So I'm writing them like what people normally would confuse themselves with. All right? So you have val and va. Val, and this one is a full mouth. Va. Right? Val, va. People also confuse with, well, we said ain and the alif or the hamza, and qaf and kaf. All right? So, ihdina siratal mustaqim, qim. Yeah, they're going to top here. Mustaqim, not mustaqim. Wrong. Mustaqim, that's kaf. A lot of people make that mistake too. They say mustaqim is mustaqim, qim, upper part of your throat. Qim, mustaqim. So qaf and kaf. People make a lot of mistakes with that. All right? So, inshallah, we hope that you will maybe join the next class, or maybe with somebody else, so that you could revise what you have learned. Now, if you think that you can read, then you just need to practice. And as I told you, listen to a reciter who you like to listen to, and just open your Quran, follow. Don't do too many one time. Do like a half page or maybe 2 lines or something, and just repeat it over and over. And then you also say it. All right? And before you memorize, all right, or you think you know it, you go to somebody and tell them you want them to listen. And they will either correct or tell you what it is. All right, so we have some announcements here. Refreshments to be served after the class today. So that will be after the Salah. Okay, after the Salah. All right. And then we have, starting tomorrow at the IMG Center, we have the pre-Ramadan series, right, which is a seminar with myself and Sheikh Fadil Muhammad. You say Fazil Muhammad, it's Fadil Muhammad, teacher in Darul Uloom. he studied in Medina with me around the same time. So that will be tomorrow after Salatul Maghrib, and they say refreshment will be served, inshallah, and you could ask questions, whatever questions you may have. We'll have 3 lectures, inshallah, once a week, right, for 3 weeks. All right, tomorrow one is on Friday, all right, but the other 2 remaining lectures will be on Saturdays, and it will be after Maghrib, and you will have refreshments, inshallah ta'ala. All right, myself and Sheikh Fadil, we will speak only for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then we'll leave the floor open for questions. All right, I think this is going to be live also on stream, and also physical, just like you. All right, so inshallah, you could contact Brother Amir. And then we have the next crash course, how to perfect your salah. All right, this is also very good. Remember what our Prophet ﷺ said. All right, he said, the key to Jannah is what? Salah. So we want to try to perfect. All right, so we say how to perfect, or we could say trying to perfect. All right, trying to perfect our salah. And that's going to start next week, inshallah, on Tuesday for 3 days. And registration is still open. And that's going to be right here at the Karoni Masjid. All right, and then we have this Sunday at the IMG Center in Kelly Village. We have the expo, and a lot of items will be on sale, inshallah. Lots of fun for the children. And inshallah, if anybody wants to go and support it, inshallah, that will be very good. And the last thing is, for anyone who wants to review our sessions, you could visit the YouTube channel at the Islamic Missionaries Guild playlist. And then you will see Learn to Read Arabic. All right? Inshallah. All right, so that brings us to the end of today's class. Jazakumullah khairan wa barakallahu fikum. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of us. And inshallah, we'll see you sometime again. All right, so don't forget, after the salah, come back here to partake of